Previously on A Court of Thorns and Roses. It's blizzarding. I'm famished. Perfect time to ruminate the meager hopes and dreams that'll never be. Oh snap! A doe! Oh, double snap! An abominably large, nay, a pony-sized wolf! Maybe this is an accursed fairy. Let me ruminate on the possible terrors that be unleashed if I'm unable to do the world a favor by sniping this wolf with my super special ash arrow. Yeet! No need for pity here. It's the forest after all. So, the sun has finally set by the time our gangly protagonist has schlepped all those several miles with a doe corpse hoisted around their gangly weak-ass shoulders. The laws of time and planetary rotation just hits different in that world, I take it. Protagonist approaches their cottage. The voices of their sisters' conversations greet their ears. Protag just knows in their gut that their sisters were most likely gabbing about boys or cute ribbons all day instead of chopping wood like a proper hungry peasant. The nerve of them. And a negative second impression of them too. Protag also notes to us of the most likely fake-ass fairy warding runes around the front door's threshold. It's something their dad had paid some charlatan to carve and bless once upon a time ago. The anti-fae sentiment is strong among the locals. Interesting. Anyway, Protag enters their home and we're greeted with the first line of dialogue in the whole book. Feyre! Oh, finally, the name of our heroine, as well as a brief physical description and a reminder that the family has been poverty-stricken for 8 years. Thanks, book. That info is going to be necessary in a little bit. Feyre remarks that nobody says anything about the blood on her, as she believes that they wouldn't give a crap if she ever came home unless they were hungry. A negative third impression. Does she even like these people? Yeah, I know siblings regularly give each other shit, but I think it's a choice to go 3 for 3 against them from the get-go. But Feyre, thank God I can refer to her by name and gender now. She swore to her dying mother that she'd care for her family, so that means the rest of them can apparently sit on their asses. I don't know why the mother forced this burden onto a small child. She must have had zero faith in the rest of her possibly incompetent family. I mean, they had wealth at one point, but they lost all of it. Somehow. In the 8 years since then, the older family members never learned how to really fend for themselves. Baby Feyre had to be the one to pull the family up by their decrepit bootstraps. The older family members rely on Feyre for everything. For instance, Elaine asks if it'll take Feyre long to clean a dough because in their 8 years of poverty, Feyre's the only one who bothered to learn such skills. None of the others ever dirtied their hands in that matter. In Elaine's case, the thought has never occurred to her that she's capable of labor at all. In all those 8 years, she's either never processed that they were destitute or refused to accept it. I see it as a combination of airheadedness and willful ignorance. She legit has no brain cells in her little noggin, and she's coddled for it. It'd be one thing if she was malicious about it, but she's not. One time, she gifted Feyre with a small set of paint tins so she could indulge in her passion all around their dingy little home. Elaine's treated as this delicate little flower who doesn't know better. A paragon of innocence that still manages to exist in their cruel world. On the other hand, Nesta is a bitter-to-her-core bitch. She's at least capable of doing some chores if Feyre is able to pick the correct string of dialogue tree options under the correct conditions that change on a daily basis. Nesta has taken the loss of their fortune the worst and resents her father for it. Even after creditors have busted the man's kneecaps, Nesta's also prone to hiding her dad's handmade cane out of his reach every now and then. Who cares if he's depressed and disabled? Get a job, you ashamed bum. Like, pot, meat, kettle. Feyre has to hide whatever money she earns, otherwise Nesta would spend it on whatever. Oh my god, this girl just has a plethora of mean-spirited dick moves under her belt, I'll tell you what. Feyre's not much better about the ableism. The family had some meager funds for 3 years, but healers are expensive for those, busted kneecaps. And you can't make bank on little wood carvings that the dad has made. The mom's death, the family's financial downfall, and the dad's inability to support his daughters through his artistic craft has, unsurprisingly, sent him down a depressive spiral, to the point where he still wouldn't move about. And at that point, Feyre picked up her bow to be the main breadwinner. Life's tough in poverty, but for that family, the first thing that truly left the sisters was empathy. Feyre says she'll hit the town tomorrow to sell the pelts, and her sisters jump to beg for a new cloak and new boots. Feyre side-eyes Nesta's shiny pair next to her old dingy ones, and Elaine begs Feyre so hard she shows us Feyre's proper name pronunciation, and I'm not gonna lie, it's better than how Handbook for Mortals did it. The sisters argue about who gets to buy what as the father inspects the pelts, and he notices the wolf one. He kinda admonishes her for taking such a risk, and she's thinking, it's not like you even try to leave the house much anymore. If not for my risks, we'd all be dead. God, the sisters' disregard for their father is so uncomfortable. He doesn't come off as a cartoonish deadbeat or anything. He's just a depressed gimp. He's like me, for real, for real. At Nesta's behest, Feyre changes out of her blood-soaked rags before she goes to town on servicing the dough. There's a moment where Feyre regards their one shared bedroom, of the big-ass ironwood bed that the sisters share. It was where the three of them were born, where their mother died, the last remnant of their previously wealthy life. Feyre has painted little doodles all over their house, but has left the bed untouched. Near the bed is their shared dresser, drawers denoted with more painted doodles. She'd done it to brighten the otherwise dark room. They never commented on it. I don't know why I'd ever expected them to. So, through this chapter, it's being demonstrated to us that Feyre does everything for her family over and over, but her actions seem to be mostly disregarded. There's a scene break, and the family feasts on some venison. As they chill out for the rest of the evening, Feyre resumes her internal monologuing about her plans at the market, how the utensils they're using were salvaged from their previous servants' quarters when the creditors took everything, that Feyre's mother was a stern socialite who only really loved her husband and wealth. Oh, thank God she passed while they still had it. As I've previously mentioned, the mother made her youngest child swear to take care of the family. A reverse older sister syndrome, if you will. She was too young to question why the burden had to fall onto the only person who still had their baby teeth, but, get a load of this sentence. But I'd sworn it to her, and then she died. And in our miserable human world, shielded only by the promise made by the High Fae 5 centuries ago, in a world where we'd forgotten the names of our gods, a promise was law, a promise was currency, a promise was your bond. Ugh, it's like an onion of clauses capped off with a rule of 3 repetition cherry. Mwah, amazing. Feyre tunes into Nessa's conversation with Elaine as their father sits in his corner and dissociates. Absolute mood. There's this local woodcutting peasant boy, Thomas Mandray, who wants to marry Nesta. Feyre's all, I'm happy to chuck you into the arms of a worthy man, but girl, this dude ain't it. Nesta's ready to go full aggro. Woodcutting's a step up from the scraps we scrounge. At least I don't have to rot in the hay with Isaac Hale like an animal. Again, with my man Isaac over here, determined to live on rent-free in the text. Hey numbnuts, a step up from 1 is just 2. You really wouldn't be that better off. Nesta don't need to know about that time Feyre almost had to throw knife hands with a hungry Thomas in order to defend a brace of rabbits she had caught that one day. But as much as Feyre wants either of her sisters to bounce, so that, again, she could paint in peace, they can't afford the dowry. Nesta counters, we're in love. You can't eat love. You're just jealous. You're just a burden without a dowry. You are going to die alone! And Nesta storms off into the bedroom with Elaine cooing behind her. Feyre tries to get her father to talk some sense into Nesta because the Mandray family sucks. But the dad's like, let the girl hope and dream for a better life and world. How else can any of us endure if we can't do that much? But these 8 years have hardened Feyre into cynicism. There's no such thing as a better world. End of chapter. Okay, this was Family Dynamics, the chapter. Really laid it on thick with how Feyre is the only person keeping all 4 of them alive while the dad is unwell and the sisters are completely useless. Feyre has rags and scraps while the sisters live in a delusion of pseudo-opulence after 8 years of them losing their wealth. I just cannot. They've lived in that cottage for 8 years and have been full-on destitute for 5. And in that time, Nesta and Elaine have yet to adapt? Nesta can at least chop wood, yet she sucks at it. but they've yet to meaningfully contribute to the household in that time. All the while, they give their dad shit, even though he at least tried with his crafts despite his crippling disabilities. Girl, nah. I know I said the dad isn't a cartoonish deadbeat. I'd now like to add that I think the sisters absolutely are. Elena in particular rubs me the wrong way, fills me with psychological ick. Ew. I kind of know that they somehow play bigger roles later on, and I'm like, how? What can they possibly do? You multiply anything by 0 and you still get 0. I'm surprised they can even breathe without Feyre there to do it for them. Whatever will they do without her? That's not sarcasm. I'm genuinely asking. Wait,